Please, if you're new to the group, go ahead and see if you have a thought to express about one aspect of life you love about civic life in Miami-Dade County. Um, Ibis, do you want to, and Pat, good, you're both there. Do you want to do your introductions, you and Pat, and then we'll just bounce around?
Well, I want to make you all very jealous because Evis and I are down participating with the Chamber and the Convention Bureau and the Beacon Council and a bunch of other folks talking to Lind Chocolates, Lindt chocolates from Switzerland. And so we're part of a twosome that we're talking to try and encourage them to open up a world of chocolate and a shop here in Miami-Dade County. So it was really kind of cool. So anyway, Pat Morris, Senior Manager of Civic and Philanthropic Partnerships for the mayor, and with my colleague Eves, our Director of Engagement. Oh, she could talk for herself, sorry.
Hey, everybody. So I know many of you, but just for the new faces I'm meeting now for the first time, Ibis Valdez, Director of Community Engagement, as well as the Community Engagement Team Hispanic Affairs Coordinator as well. So happy to see this wonderful variety of organizations, faces, expertise for this 2026 Civic Summit. So Bob, we're popcorning, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So you know what? Let's popcorn to Debbie Dietz.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, thank you for including me. This is my first time here, so I'm playing catch up on what's going on. My name is Debbie Dietz. I'm the executive director of an organization called Disability Independence Group, or we call it DIG for short. And you wanted to know about civic engagement. We're always connected and love what the county does and how they're prioritizing disability and keeping that in the conversation. So thank you.
Great. So Debbie, you want to pop it to someone else on the screen here?
Yeah, Camilo. Hi, Camilo.
Hi, Debbie. Great to see you again. Hi, everyone. Camilo Mejia, he, him, his. I'm the Senior Director of Policy and Advocacy at Catalyst Miami. Very happy to be here. One thing that I really love about civic engagement in the county is the fact that when people come together and become civically engaged and they organize around an issue that they really care about, it leads to structural change of the county. For instance, I see Jim Murley, and we had a lot to do with the creation of the Office of Resilience, back in 2015, Jim.
Right.
Cool.
Just like Office of the Housing Advocate and other really, 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 really important institutions within the county that have been the result of people coming together and organizing for something that they really care about. And I love that we have that ability in a county that when people come together, they're able to work with local elected leaders and affect structural change in our county. And I'll pass it to Jim.
Thanks, Camilo. Jim Murley, a retired Miami-Dade County employee. I am with Florida Civic Advance, assisting in this endeavor. Thank you. I'll pop it over to Joshua.
He's the busiest retired guy we know.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Josh Young. I'm with Miami-Dade College's Institute for Civic Engagement and Democracy, and I'll pass it on to Agatha, my colleague from FIU.
Hi, Agatha Caraballo with the FIU Marie Seyfried Institute for Civic Leadership, and I will pass it over to Aurora.
Hey, Agatha, Aurora Colindres with Power for Good Consulting, she, her, ella pronouns. One of the things I love about civic engagement in our city is the power of our frontline organizing and community building organizations. And I'll pass it on to, I think Fernanda's on the call.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fernanda Jorgensen, the Executive Director of Philanthropy Miami. And I'll just echo everybody's comments. I love the spirit of collaboration. So I'll pass it on to Nori.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I was at the first meeting, didn't make it to the second, so I'm happy to be back on. I'm the Chief Impact Officer at United Way Miami. And I will pass it to Natalia.
Hi, Nori. I figured you'd be the one to pass it on to me. It's really good to see you. Really good to be a part of this conversation and to be invited to join you. My name's Natalia Earl, and I serve as the Collective Impact Manager for Urban Health Partnerships. And I currently work on leading the coordinating efforts for the Miami-Dade County Age-Friendly Initiative. And of course, it's about aligning partnerships across community health, and the focus is systems level change. So again, I'm excited to be here. And to answer the question about civic engagement, I just love to see just the profound changes in just even at the individual resident level when they recognize that their voices actually matter and that they're actually able to speak and have it actually register in actual changes on the ground that affect them personally. So that's what I love to see. That's part of my favorite thing. And let's see, who can I pass it to who has not yet gone? Guriel, I don't think I'm saying that right. Guriel?
Thank you, Natalia. Hi, everyone. Herjal here with the Miami Foundation and the Senior Manager of Collective Impact. I did attend the previous two meetings, so I'm excited to see more new faces and get this going. I cannot believe we're 74 days away. This year's flying by.
How about
I think everybody went, maybe Josh. I don't think.
Clint John.
Clint.
And Clint John, yeah.
Well, if Clint is waiting, how about Josh Sales?
Muted myself. Hi, everybody. Josh Sales, Vice President of External Affairs for the Greater Miami Jewish Federation. Great to be with you.
Great. Leah Blumenthal?
Who'd we miss?
Leah and
Maite.
Yeah, I haven't gone yet.
Go, Maite, go.
Hi, everyone. Maida Martinez, Director of Miami-Dade Initiatives with Hispanic Unity of Florida. I've been part of the past two calls as well, so happy to see some of you and the new faces joining us as well.
And present at the event 10 years ago.
She's a Civic Summit veteran.
Yeah.
A wise one among us. Also, Natalia from UHP.
Oh, yeah. Got to unmute Natalia.
I believe I went. I just realized my
bad.
camera wasn't on. So no, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it's my camera. I didn't realize it was on all that time. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I think the only person, Sarah Chavis, is on if she wants to.
Hey everyone, sorry, I'm having a little bit of Zoom difficulty, so I was a little late to join, but I'm Sarah Chavez. I'm the program officer for Knight Foundation, and I oversee our portfolio of grants and investments in Miami, and really excited to be a part of this planning committee.
Great. Okay, have we covered the all the members who are presently on the call? I think so.
Yeah.
And okay, well, let's go ahead and get going. So today I'm just going to go to the agenda. The objectives just correspond with the agenda, but we want to kind of describe the effort in the first couple of meetings. We did a survey between the first and second meeting to try and get some themes and ideas for initial agenda development. And so we landed on three broad themes, and it involves civic information. This is stated very broadly: civic information, civic participation, and civic spaces. And we thought those covered all of the issues that are embedded in all those three areas, and there's a lot of crossover in those three areas. So we're going to kind of continue to try and work and develop with the planning committee, and especially it's an important pivot. We're going to try and see if we can put together some work groups in each of these three theme areas, which will then relate to the development of the agenda at the summit itself. And so there may be a couple of meetings additional meetings between the meeting we have next is April 24th for the planning committee. There probably going to be a work group meeting before then a work group meeting in between that April and May meeting, and probably one between the May and June meeting. So just FYI, when we talk about these work groups, just anticipate that there will be some more that we'll be asking of you to both participate and contribute your thoughts in development of this. So we also had talked in the first two meetings about the invitation process for the summit. And what we initially came up with at the second meeting was to invite you to uh, sort of offer 5 candidates from the community and or your organization and as a starting list. And then the mayor's office is going to kind of work with that and with the planning committee to develop that further. So I think all of you who have responded up to this point, it's not too late to respond at following this meeting. But really, we have about 50 people that have been suggested to date, with about 7 or 8 of the PC members. And so we really want to fill that list out. We're aiming for 250, and it is not coincidence that we're in the context of the umbrella for Miami-Dade celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So this we're aiming for 250. I think we have the facility at Miami-Dade College. Thank you, Josh. That can accommodate that and work with that. So we'll go, and then we'll talk a little bit about the work plan, the sequence of meetings upcoming, and adjourn. So, uh, Ibis, if you want to just, this is really just a brief reminder for the planning committee of the charge and then the summit goals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bob. So essentially, if you are in this meeting right now, it is because you have been referred, invited as a trusted expert in our community on civic education with your respective service population and service model. So essentially, what a summit planning committee, like what it means to be part of this committee, is that you are helping us, again, with your expertise to develop recommendations for refining summit goals and objectives. What we are planning towards in June is like a 1 day interactive agenda. So we want, we're envisioning like breakout sessions, workshops, panels, so to have that kind of format in mind, with the idea of pushing and raising awareness on priority civic issues that make sense for each of our respective service populations, and therefore the social and civic fabric of Miami-Dade County.
Okay. I will just mention this is designed as a launch, not as a standalone event, and not as the end of the conversation. And we're hoping that the planning committee will meet following the summit to discuss implementation ideas and plans that emerge both at the summit. Uh, we've gone over these roles before, but it just so everyone, especially with the new members today joining us, these are the respective roles. As Ibis mentioned, the planning committee is developing the agenda and the implementation plan. We're hoping for funders and sponsors to help defray the costs of the event, and that the mayor's office has overall management and coordination of this effort. So, Ibis, this is a draft set of goals that will probably be refined through conversations, but I think it captures what at least I think the mayor is interested in trying to put in front of us, and to basically really have a notion of action at the end of this conversation, not just envisioning the future, but really coming up with actions that can really help improve the civic information that has available and accessible to all folks in Miami-Dade County, as well as increase civic participation and then increase civic spaces where these civic activities can take place. So you've seen this before. This is a quick reminder of what the goals are for the summit in general. And again, I'd emphasize that this is considered a launch, not a final piece. I'll just briefly mention this. We've had two conversations for the first two meetings about summit audiences and how important it is to think about this both in terms of the actual summit, that is the day of the summit, as well as the implementation audiences for what would follow from the summit. And so we've kind of landed on this articulation, pretty general, but we think this will help both in terms of the mayor's office, in terms of kind of figuring out the manner of the invitation and the people that it would go out to. And so if there are any questions on this,
Not
okay.
really a question, but if I may kind of just jump in, I think this is great, and I think what mentioned earlier about breakout groups and kind of interactive sessions. I think that as we pull together the list, it would be nice to think of little cohort groups within the breakout sessions that hopefully they'll build connections so that the work will continue kind of naturally and organically afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's a segue to this is the quick summary headline summary of the survey that we did between the first and second meeting of members. And so these were kind of the categories of and questions that we were trying to elicit from all of you. And as I mentioned before, this is where we, after at the second meeting, we presented these as very broad ideas that seem to cover the various issues that the planning committee raised in the surveys. And so here is a so this is uh, a concept agenda. So all right, so this is not the agenda itself. This will be going through changes and the like, but I think what we're hoping to kind of illustrate by this is how we can spend a significant chunk of time at the summit in looking at these three areas and then bringing back from these three areas and discussions and presentations in these three areas back to a plenary to review calls to action. And what I would say that embedded in this is the work groups we anticipate they're going to both look at how to design that section of the agenda, those two roundtable pieces from before lunch and after lunch, and any speakers that need to set the table for those topics for civic information or civic participation, etc., as well as begin to draft an initial call to action that can be looked at and refined in the summit proper virtually. So we're thinking that this would then help Agatha's earlier point about how we take this and not experience the what we have described in 2016 when we had this one-day summit. It basically there wasn't no implementation of a plan that had been thought. So this is really trying to address and think about how best to gather all of you to think through this and look at it in each area. So let me just stop there and see what thoughts and discussions and ideas and suggestions you might have for this. Again, I it's a concept agenda. It's far from final, and we're really trying to get everyone to start thinking about, well, how would this work? We've got a you know 6 hours together in a 1 day period, and how to make the most and best of that in terms of really trying to engage and launch some actions that would follow.
Hey, Bob, this is Pat. Let me also just mention that we did have a chance to share with the mayor the summary document that you sent out to everybody and asked her to talk about to particularly take a look at these themes. And she did respond back that she thought this was great. She's going to try to jump on the call with us next at the end of the month to see if she can be on that for a few minutes. She did think that these themes made sense in the concept of where the direction we're looking to go. So just a heads up on that. Wanted everybody to know.
So the floor is open. Anyone, you can raise your hand, or you can just begin to speak, and we'll try and listen closely.
Bob, Jim, I know in some of the discussions, because we were looking at speakers, we're trying to minimize plenary speakers beyond the mayor. But it is possible that the work groups might, I think you said this, identify some people who might open one of the first working group meeting with not long PowerPoints, but with a dialogue. And it might be just conceptually one or two local people, and the opportunity might be there to bring in one outside person. So blend some local experts, not to take the entire time with the presentations, but to bring in some ideas that can be shared with the audience at that time.
Thanks, Jim. And when we get to the looking at the three work groups, you'll see that one of the charge for each of the work groups is to figure out how to best use the time they have, and including any information to set the table for the conversation that takes place in those breakouts. I I would say as well that we have not landed on a keynote, and there is a lunch in theory, a lunch sequence for a possible keynote address. We thought that we could look for the combination of the 250 celebration with the interest in civic action, and how that was manifested in the last 250 years, and how that might be manifested in the next 250. So we're still on the prowl for a possible keynote, but I just want to let you know. And if we don't have a keynote, then we'll utilize a little more time for the breakouts, etc. So we're really trying to kind of, this is a work in progress, and it'll be influenced by your reactions and thoughts and suggestions as well.
Okay, my dream speaker, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Jackson, but I'm just gonna put that out there. If there's any way, so you never put it out there, put an invitation. You never know.
Okay.
She spoke at book fair, or it wasn't during book fair, but the book fair folks brought her in, so I could ask the head of book fair who was the one that made the arrangements with her.
Thanks, Josh. Okay. So I'm hearing Not a
I
lot.
guess just like a quick question. So like just to get to maybe to refine suggestions, like are we looking for someone that's like institutional? Are we looking for someone who has like, direct organizing experience? Like what it just whether from us like the organizing committee or from here the rest of the participants, like what do you think the preference would be? What would resonate the most? I think especially with the 250 tie-in.
I I would, Josh, from the Jewish Federation. I think more all of those are things are important to consider. For me, I think like this is the opportunity to advertise someone prominent who's going to drive attendance. And I think whoever we choose, like the bigger the name, I think a lot of the success is going to be lying on the type of draw that this person is, whatever they talk about.
Yeah.
I have a few notes. I think taking a step back to the audience, I feel strongly that if we do a really great job of being really inclusive, and working on that list, like I know that we will, the audience will predominantly be the nonprofits, the frontline organizations, all of kind of more from an institutional perspective and organizational perspective, with them bringing in their membership and their members, their community members, and folks that are living issues, I think will be really important. But I wonder if we need to just keep that in mind, because I know there was also a note about, the public possibly at large or residents at large. So with that in mind, I think we have the opportunity of selecting a civic leader or a powerful voice that's really going to galvanize and give a lot of hope and give a lot of, I see you, we value you, right? All the organizations that are going to be engaged and getting out the vote. I think it gives the opportunity for a speaker that can really speak to sort of galvanizing and getting us connected and feeling more powerful together. My other thought, and Camilo will probably back this, is I'm not sure what will be shared in the civic health data, but we should have a delineated conversation around challenges and some policy updates, not to drown folks in policy, but with the realities around uh, the additional documentation for voting, et cetera. There's just a lot of things at play that we all know can really impact the vote this year and leading up to 2028. So I would just make a note about that. And then I am a true believer in the power of art as a tool for justice. So wherever we can plug that in the beginning or at some point in the conference, could have a powerful, um, you know, um, poetic moment or musical moment or something that kind of lifts us up. And there's a number of different organizations in our city that can help us kind of bring that lens as well. And not to put Fernanda on the spot, but I am on the committee for the Ignite conference. And I think we brought it up at the last call that I think she's doing a fantastic job of focusing in on that connecting piece and letting those breakout groups really take it from there and kind of think about ways of combining forces beyond the Ignite conference. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that. We're happy to share the agenda with you guys on the conference just to get some ideas going on how to, the power of connection and allowing organizations to kind of take the lead in organizing themselves.
Aurora, this is Pat. I mean, I think all of those ideas are good, but I would love you to pass on your thoughts on that artist component, whether it's written word or poetry or whatever it might be, because I was thinking about that and talking to somebody on the committee about that, not knowing where to go to find that person. So I like that idea. We just need to make sure, again, 10 to 4, it's a tight agenda. We don't want to be just hearing from people speaking. We want to be interacting as well. So, but I love that idea. So send us what your thoughts are and we can, get back to you and see how we can work something out.
All right, if we're shooting for the stars, then I'm gonna put Bad Bunny out there then too.
Yeah,
Agatha, I like how you think.
yeah.
So in 2016 at the summit, 10 years ago, we had an artist at the back with a large canvas, and throughout the course of the day, he painted a what he was hearing from the presentations. It was all in the same room, and that was very effective. And it was a nice way to blend art. So we're looking for creative ideas like that or like others, both in terms of any of the arts.
Yeah, Bob, I was in a meeting like that. It was great because at the end you had a whole representation of the topics and it was fantastic. That's a great idea. I don't know how much they cost, but
Well, this didn't cost a whole lot, but it was really a value added at the summit in 2016. It was really nice. So, um, any further reactions,
I just
thoughts
I just
about?
have a couple of questions, and I'm sorry if I missed it. Do we already know who is going to be presenting the overview of the civic health data?
No, we do not, but we are probably going to rely not completely, but rely on the Miami Foundation's 2024 report that reviewed both the
Yeah, I
data on
remember that
civic
report.
participation and civic infrastructure.
Yeah. I just want to piggyback on what Aurora shared or asked, to make sure that we're not just doing, a passive presentation on data and maybe reframing it as what are those insights? How can they be interpreted? And what does it mean for Miami and what are the gaps and opportunities? And maybe include some prompts that then can help with the themed breakouts for the first part of the morning. And I'm just curious also, what are the outputs of that first breakout group? I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to have each breakout having a clear question or a defined output that then can help inform what we do in the second half of the afternoon.
Yeah. Great questions and suggestions on that. And the in my imagination, in the plenary, we'll have round tables. So we would have opportunities, hopefully, for using that layout to prompt like questions to ask at a table in terms of the data, for example, the presentation data. So we'll try and sort of be creative and think about this with the help of all of the planning committee members. And I also just would mention that the work groups who are picking up on each of these three themes will help us kind of clarify questions that could be engaging for each of those three breakout sessions and a sequence. And I think what we were anticipating is the first round of round tables would be focusing on just trying to set the table in terms of information that everyone shared and then engaging in that. And then the second round would be looking at draft calls to action for each of the three themes, discussions, and then hearing back from the second round table reports back in full to at the plenary. So that's kind of the design going, at least initially, the concept of this agenda is to help have the work groups really try and develop and decide how to run each of the two breakout sessions and then work that in terms of some consistency perhaps in terms of the format. And I think this will start to emerge in the next month or so when the work group's looking at this and bringing back to the planning committee their ideas, and then the planning committee and gives the work groups guidance, and they go back and kind of work further. So the development of this agenda will be a very interactive process, is what I would be the bottom line there. So, any further questions on this agenda concept?
I had a comment more than so much a question. This is Natalia with Urban Health Partnerships. I find that when you have sessions like this and you do a lot of breakouts, that typically the participants need a lot of structure in the breakouts because it can run away with you, and before you know it, time is up and we haven't done any work. And so I think in that specific section, we could lose people in terms of even their interaction, their involvement, their engagement, if that doesn't have a little bit more structure, especially in the first part, because all of this even happens before lunch. And then by the time you get to lunch, you tend to have a lot of lost energy. So I would want to make the suggestion here that we try to figure out amongst ourselves, like sharpen that, like figure out what it is that we want the sessions to look like and have someone in place to be able to guide them. Like if we wanted to figure out what are, 3 barriers or 2 opportunities, giving that structure right at the beginning really will be helpful, and it makes it very sharp in terms of what is produced, and someone can manage that in the session. So that's really all I wanted to add there.
That's a great point, and I think I agree. Given the 6 hours we'll have together, that time is really of the essence, and trying to be as clear as possible, and also provide voice for everyone in the conversation, and capture that. There may be desire to get some facilitation in these work groups, to have some clear guidance, at least for the leaders of the conversation for the breakout sessions. But I mean, those are all really good points. Okay. Thank you. And this is going to be a continuing discussion. We're certainly not at a point of a final version of this agenda, but we're trying to make headway on trying to clarify these. And that's where I think the work groups can help to answer some of these questions that have been raised. So let me just walk through quickly. Here are the 3 proposed groups. There is,
Bob, you have a hand up, just giving you a heads up.
okay, in terms of the agenda, the concept agenda, or what is the comment?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to double down on Natalia's comment um about the breakout rooms. Just because I see in the timing, it's like only 1 hour for the breakout and then the lunch and then back an hour. And that's so if we're projecting 250 participants, um, it's going to be a lot of movement. So I'm just going to double down on her point, that timing and that structure might have to be edited in some way, or maybe reworking a working lunch, or are there 3 different spaces that can accommodate 50 to 100 people? There's a number of logistics there that I think have to be figured out. So I just do want to make sure that's on the record, because I know, Natalia, where you were headed with that one.
Right.
Just want to make sure it's clear that's kind of like where the question or the concern comes in logistically.
Yeah, yeah, and I think so. One of the things that we are clear on is the facility, and I think Josh will help on this, but others will as well. The mayor's office is going to be looking at, in terms of separating from these 3 work groups, going to be looking at the coordination, the logistics, the speaker invitations, the registration, the site coordination, the planning, and I think there's going to be a lot of input on how accommodating can the site that we have be, and how much time we need to shift from plenary to breakout, and then breakout back to plenary, et cetera. And as we get a clear idea about that in terms of the logistics, we can then feed that to both everyone looking at the flow of this agenda, and make some adjustments. So yes, I mean, really good points, Midi and Natalia. Um, I so all right. So the idea now is we asked in between our last meeting and then this meeting, we asked that the members both express any preference they might have for one of the three work groups or more. And so, in terms of the responses we got back, the group that is looking at civic information resources, Civic Hub, civic and tech partnerships, literacy, education, learning, etc., that Pat Morris is going to take a lead on that work group, and Josh Young had indicated an interest or a preference. And we're basically inviting, as we walk through this, several of the PC members have expressed this, but we're inviting everyone, both on this call and right after this call, to let us know whether if you have a preference, if you want to go, or if you're willing to be sent to a work group. So just as we walk through this. Here, so this is and this is going to be standard for the next three slides. It's both the broad theme, but also some of the actions that we're going to be asking a work group to help provide and then bring back to the planning committee. Possible speakers to set the table, information, resources, etc. Then ideas on how to frame these agendas, key questions, etc., and then refine a draft call to action, which would be taken up in and discussed in the second round, the table round. So this concept would be to go back and forth, kind of look at this initially with this work group, then the work group would then present this to the planning committee, get some guidance, and then continue their work going forward. So it's back and forth. The second group, which we not surprisingly, it had a lot of interest expressed. Ibis is agreed to kind of help chair this, etc. Agatha expressed interest, Clint, Aurora, Fernanda, and Amy, and others. So we're asking for you to kind of, if you don't see your name on this list, please just either in chat you can put your preference on, which would be a real helpful immediate thing that you could then let us know, or maybe following this meeting, if you can circle back to us and let us know your preferences. So this is the participation strategies, and again, the similar framework for the work group to develop. And then this is the spaces. Jim has agreed to help guide this, chair this. Sarah Chavez and Agatha expressed interest as well. And again, we welcome any others who are interested and could really help to build this aspect of both the theme and then its place in the agenda for the summit. So, well, I will just mention as I mentioned before, we have logistics that are going to be coordinated by the mayor's office, and there will be a feedback loop as we go through developing the list of summit invitations, registration process, etc. That you will hear back to the planning committee for the effort that will be coordinated by the mayor's office on summit logistics. So, any thoughts? Have anyone already selected an interest or a preference in serving. I think anticipating in terms of workload, I think what you should anticipate, and I'll go to the schedule, is between now, April 6th, and April 24th, we would have an organizational meeting of each work group. And then between April 24th and May 22nd, we would have at least one additional work group meeting. And then between May and June, we would probably have and we'll see how this unfolds. But I think what you can expect is uh, a couple hours of additional thought on contributing to the work group, and then this will at each meeting will feature the work group's product back with the planning committee, get some guidance, review, suggestions, surprises, etc., and then go back do the work groups in between these meetings. So anyway, that's to place it back in the context of the flow of the agenda. Um, any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Yes, I see two hands raised. So let me see who, Agatha and then Natalia from UHP.
Hi. I guess first thing, I didn't see an option for chats. I don't know if it's turned off for these meetings, but to be able to turn on the chat so we could post chat. I don't mind jumping off of the second one and going into the first session to work with Pat and Josh just to kind of round things out a bit more. But then I guess for future meetings, making sure that we can also activate the chat.
Yes. Sorry, I directed you to the chat and it isn't on. I don't know if we can get it on at this point. Ibis, you're in control of the.
Yes, so the thing is that typically, and this is more an administrative setting, as far as I'm aware, Miami-Dade County Zooms typically don't have chats.
Okay.
And just like for disclosure, like since I'm on my phone, I can see hands up, but it's hard for me to keep track of a chat. So just to let everybody know.
Yeah. Agatha, you had a thought?
In that case, we might want to just have a running WhatsApp or a group chat or something just to kind of drop notes in. That might be easy.
I think that's a good idea.
Thanks, Agatha. That was going to be my first comment. And then recognizing that the answer to that was probably going to be no, they weren't going to be able to activate it, I wanted to just throw my hat in for number 2, civic participation and strategies.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to get everybody on a work group so we get the brilliance on this planning committee engaged in making this happen. So if you don't know which one right now, please reach out to Evis or myself or Michelle or Jim and let us know what you want. I know I'm going to try to have one face to face in the next week or so.
Yeah, as an incentive, I was going to say for places, I was thinking of a Brightside Bar would be great. Place for us to meet. It's great third place.
Yeah, Pat, definitely, if you wouldn't mind including me in the first one too on Civic Hub, I actually had some different ideas after I thought about it. And I think civic participation, the second one's pretty well covered.
Sounds good.
And then we have Camilo, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I'm stepping in for my colleague Anna Ruth, and I don't know if she already chose a group, but if she hasn't, then we can definitely jump in on 1 or 3 based on our expertise and what the work that we do. 2 also, but I think 1 or 3 would make more sense.
Okay.
Glad you brought that up because I see myself in 3 as well. I'm just thinking of bandwidth in terms of strengthening and increasing access to civic spaces. This is Natalia. So depending on how it goes, I think 2 or 3 would work really well.
Probably 3. I think three like needs to be beefed up. So I think that would be good. And then we have a Maile.
Yes, I'll be more than happy to work on civic information.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy to shift to 3 if since the need is there.
Right.
Amazing.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, Natalia. Just for clarification, yeah, I chose number 2 for civic participation strategies. Where do you see groups like Catalyst, Florida Rising, our C3, C4 friends and partners being
I think
out?
2.
Or C3. Sorry, C3 folks.
I would say probably 2.
Right? Okay, so I'm in the right group. Okay.
Yeah.
Agatha.
I guess I had a question. You mentioned that you got about 50 names so far and you want 250. Do you want additional recommendations from the committee of potential invitees and then also just perhaps suggestions for the keynote speaker?
Ibis, I think I would say yes on both. And I know, Agatha, for example, you provided the 5, and then you provided additional from FIU, some potential invitees. And so you sort of you did the assignment, but then you said, okay, but here are some more. And I think that was similar to several people who responded. So I think yes is the answer to both the possible invitees as well as the ideas for speakers. And I think so. One of the things about speakers is where you can see in the agenda where it sort of shrunk in terms of keynote speakers, and so it's like potentially one, perhaps even maybe even not that. But we also have this idea of the 3 breakouts could bring speakers to, and then they could potentially contribute in a plenary discussion back in the main hall. So, at any rate, this we're trying to kind of both be structured, but also be allow for fluid discussions and opportunities.
Yeah, and I think the other challenge to the committee, I mean, I just say this to everybody is, do you want somebody who's a keynote, who is that name, who's going to be that uplifting person? Or do you want somebody who's maybe not as big a name, but has a vantage point of what is happening in the rest of the country that we don't know about, that can be somebody who can enlighten us about what are the good civic models that are happening kind of around the country. And, unless you go to these types of conferences around the country, how would you know what that is? So I think, if anyone has any idea of anyone at the national level, we've surfaced a group of some great local, I mean, not local, national people who might fit that bill. But, it's you got to pay for them most likely, and it's probably just one. But then, do you integrate a Dave Lawrence into something like this, which, is always an incredibly inspiring guy? But, I don't know. Would he do this? I think so. But, where do you integrate him in there as the keynote speaker, or as a, not the keynote, but somewhere where, because, he's going to bring something that is going to be awe-inspiring to everybody. So anybody who has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it.
Sarah has a hand up. Sarah?
Thank you. Yeah, so Knight Foundation works very closely with Dr. Vivek Murthy, who was the former US Surgeon General under both Presidents Biden and Obama.
Yep.
And he wrote what's called his Parting Prescription for America, where he tries to, advise all of us on the best way to combat loneliness and try to engage people civically and get them excited about building community and connecting with each other. So with his organization, the Together Project, he's traveling around the country trying to learn about best practices and how we can actually foster or build community. we're bringing him to Miami on May 1st for a series of like smaller, more limited engagements. But I think he's originally from Miami as well. He
Yeah,
went to Palmetto High
yeah,
School.
yeah.
I think he would be a great keynote speaker. And so I'm happy to make the ask to his team if it's something he'd be interested in. But I think he's a perfect fit for a keynote like this.
That's great. We tried to get him in 2019 to our statewide summit, and he was very, very. I mean, he is a humble guy, but he's so smart, and yeah, and he is a great speaker.
And I
Inspired.
think, Sarah, I think he knows the mayor too. I bet you he would be interested in doing that. So yeah,
Definitely. Great. I'm happy to ask.
yeah. Let's go offline and
Yeah.
give you some thoughts. But I mean, if anyone has any other thoughts, feel free to put them in there. We put a little a list of I don't know how many 7, 8 names and showed to the mayor. She said these all sound great. The organizations sound great. I don't know any of them except Rich Harwood from the Harwood Institute. So it was a little bit back to the drawing board, but Vivek was not on our list, interestingly enough. But I have heard him speak, and I know what he's talking about, and a lot of it is a whole loneliness thing and lack of connections, and it's I think would be very powerful if we can get him. And with your help, we might be able to do that. So.
Okay.
Oh.
Any,
Maya?
Yeah, sorry to to chime in a little bit. The only thing I would caution with a national perspective, and Vivek sounds incredible, is that a lot of national strategies don't work in Miami just because of our very unique cultural context. So that's the only thing that I would caution is how can we make it unique to Miami or to like address a lot of the issues that we have here, like misinformation, disinformation, um, loneliness in the context of we have 3 generations that live in a house now because of income and yeah, I if I'm to verbalize my thoughts a little bit more concretely, I think what does that conversation look like for Miami specifically and like the communities that we serve? So that's the only thing I want to bring to top of mind is how um, yeah, how can it be like specific to the issues that we're facing? Sorry if that was a little bit roundabout. I was trying to find the right words to
No,
put it
good
together.
point. All good points for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to, get a better understanding of what he would be speaking about. To be honest with you, I think he might be the exception to everybody else might take who was on that list, who would have been that. He may be the one guy that Sarah brought forward that what he's going to say, because he does have some deep connections to Miami, that could be very interesting, I think. So yeah, but that's a good point to raise, 100%.
He'll also be in Miami on May 1st, specifically to meet with like cross-sector leaders about issues facing Miami. So his whatever he says, if he's able to join, will be grounded in reality and like conversations that he's had with Miamians who are advancing this type of work. So I think that's
good point.
it's a very special, it's a great time, I think, because it's going to be happening about a month afterwards, but it will be grounded in research.
Great.
Good point.
That sounds amazing.
Bob, are we able to get like a Google working doc so that we can chime in with the ideas and get that discussion going on speakers and to help to start to kind of frame up and put in some of the notes around the agenda?
Ibis, have you had the county have experience in kind of setting up a
Yeah, basically, so we don't our server is Outlook, so we have like for example Microsoft Word, SharePoint, which would be essentially a shared Google Doc, so to speak. More than happy to get one started, or an Excel.
Yeah, and we might want to structure that so that the comments could be placed in the context of a potential structure of both of the work groups as well as more broadly like speakers, possible speakers, etc. Okay. Well, we're any further thoughts on the both the summit itself as well as the kind of work group efforts going up to the next 2 months? I have on the screen our general work plan, and I think we can see how this goes. I This was great. People expressing interest in serving in one of the three areas. I also hats off to Agatha. She said, "Hey, I'll serve in two areas." So it's possible that if it could work out in terms of your ability to manage that. But we're interested in trying to get your ideas together, distill them, and then bring them back in sequence to the planning committee to get some guidance and thoughts and et cetera, and then go back. And my sense is that we're probably going to need by uh, early to mid-May to land on a final agenda that, at least for distribution purposes and registration purposes, and so whether it needs to be a very detailed agenda or not, we can work on that in the next month or so. Uh, any questions about the plan going forward here? If if you haven't expressed an interest in one of these work groups, I don't think we'll assign you to a work group that you didn't express. But I think you'll be working on behalf of the broader planning committee, bringing ideas back that you can take a deeper dive than we're able to in an hour format. Natalia.
Yes, I more had just a comment about how, on the topic of speakers, to kind of bring it back to that. I feel like we could still have a main speaker, but also have two other speakers to give a broad, who will give their own perspective and more grounded in like Miami specifically. And then the main speaker could be the one that then gives us a broader perspective and include Miami. Not to say that we're going to have everyone speak for, 30 minutes each, but I feel like if we're able to maybe have a community voice, to be represented in the space, it would keep us in, context.
Yeah.
It would keep the session maybe dynamic if we have like two voices and then we have that main speaker. Because again, it's the purpose of the summit and who we expect to be there. With cross-sector leadership, we're going to have residents and community leaders. I think if we're able to identify, a community voice, someone up and coming to be able to speak on behalf of Miami in that way, that it would make it easier to hear from that person and then get that broader perspective from someone who's out there, internationally. So just wanted to make that comment.
Great comment. Uh, okay. Sarah, your hand's up, but I think that was up from before, or do you have
Yes, sorry. Let me see if I can lower it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the next meeting for the broader planning committee would take place on the 24th, which is a Friday. And then we'll hopefully plan for the this week and next week some organizational sessions for each of the work groups. And we'll start with those who voiced an interest in participating, and try and kind of have I think it's going to be a 60-minute meeting with the work group, kind of focusing and diving into what are the things that need to be organized and et cetera. So in terms of in terms of next steps, we're going to continue to compile the invitation list. And again, I would encourage everyone who wasn't able to respond to the last after the second meeting to the kind of 5 people slash organizations, either from the community or from your organization, that you'd like to consider as a candidate for invitation. So please, if you haven't done that, please, you can do it by email, or you can call Ebus. But we're interested, and we'll probably on the 24th want to present some form of, okay, where we are with that invitation list, and what kind of sectors we're covering, et cetera, to try and make sure that we have a good sense of that. So uh, please, if you haven't, do that. And for those that didn't express a preference on working on a work group, you can do that anytime. But just let us know so we can put you on the list to get to that meeting. Um, and yeah, so I think
Hey, Bob, let me just make a comment. Thank you to those of you who did put some names and send them in, because I know Bob doesn't know these people, right? We do. But let me tell you, it was a great group of people and a great group of organizations. But this is a dynamic invitation list. So, it wasn't just a brain dump and don't need to think about it again. If you continue to think about it, meet people, say, hey, I'm working on something, you ought to be there. Please keep sending the names over to us, because I know that's happened to me, and I just keep bumping into people or emailing back and forth saying, oh my God, you should be joining this as well. So thank you for those who sent that in already.
okay,
I
any
just
go
I
ahead.
just have a quick question. Can we see a working list perhaps on a spreadsheet of who's been invited so far, or this list? I'm sure our team has recommendations and I don't want to suggest any duplicates. So if there's any way to get some working documents that we can
Yeah,
just
basically, I'll put that together, like one
Amazing.
big
Thank you.
SharePoint. So I'll do that.
Great. Thanks, Ebus. Uh, yes, we have right now we have a Word document with a bunch of names and organizations' emails, but it'll be converted into an Excel or document, and then you can take a look at that, and you'll find that on the SharePoint. And Ebus will probably let everyone know, especially those who are not on the call, that the SharePoint, where the SharePoint can be found, and what the contents are of the SharePoint.
Yes. Yeah, what I'll do is that basically, like my holy grail is everyone's email who is on this calendar invite, right? So that's where I'll be communicating and sharing everything. What I'm gonna do, the way that, like, I guess, I mean, obviously similar to Google Docs, like on the SharePoint, I'll manually add everybody on. Even if you don't have the Microsoft Office suite, it should open as a web page, so to speak. So of course, I'm here for any kind of technical difficulties or access issues, but I'll get started on that.
Right. Okay. Agatha.
I don't want to keep anybody that long because I know we're over, but also thinking about how we could also identify from that invite list possible facilitators for the breakout session who could also report back from the groups, speakers who can kind of summarize what was discussed.
Absolutely. That, and recorders, and yeah, all of the things that'll make it work both in the meeting and also have a record of it following. But yeah, that we'll put that on the list. Okay. So any parting thoughts? Anything you want to give us a heads up on? If if not, then I think we are ready to adjourn. I think this was a great meeting. Thanks for those who kind of helpfully looked at the working group framework and offered to join one or another. And we'll get that list produced and then get some invites out for those who are interested in meeting between now and April 24th to kind of have an organizational session. Okay?
Thank you all. Thank you for your time and your ideas, and keep them coming. Because I know I always do this. I get off the phone and I was like, darn, I wish I had said this. So if you have one of those moments, it might be just because I'm older than you, except I'm not older than Merle.
You already have an email in your inbox, Pat.
Send it on. Perfect. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Bye,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everybody. Thank you.